The first time I realized my husband might not have ruined my life, he was already 6 feet under fresh Georgia dirt. I was standing beside his grave in a black dress that still smelled like rain, listening to people whisper behind me like I could not hear. Poor Claire. Daniel fooled her. He stole from everyone. He ran off with another woman and got himself killed. They said it softly, but there was hunger in the way they looked at me. People love a tragedy when it happens to somebody else. I kept my eyes on the casket. Daniel Donovan had been my husband for 18 years. He had been my first serious love and the only person who knew how I took my coffee when I was too tired to speak. He had also, according to the last 3 weeks of my life, drained our savings, signed loans in my name, emptied the payroll account of his construction company, and died in a car crash on a lonely highway outside Savannah with a woman's scarf in the passenger seat. That was the story everyone believed. That was the story someone had worked very hard to make me believe. And I almost did. Then, just as the pastor said, ashes to ashes. My best friend Marissa leaned close to me and squeezed my hand. Her perfume was too sweet. Her nails were perfect. Her tears were perfect, too. She whispered, "You're free now, Claire." Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I loved him too." "You're free now." I turned my head and looked at her. For 1 second, the sad mask on her face slipped, and behind it I saw something cold and bright. Satisfaction. That was the moment my grief stopped being a storm and became a blade. I did not scream. I did not slap her. I did not fall apart in front of the people who had come to watch me break. I just squeezed her hand back and said, "Thank you for staying with me." Then I watched her smile, and I knew that smile would be the first thing I destroyed. My name is Claire Donovan. I was 4 years old when my life burned down in public. I lived outside Atlanta, Georgia, in a white house with blue shutters and a backyard Daniel had spent 10 years promising to turn into a garden. He owned Donovan Custom Homes, a mid-sized construction company. Daniel was not rich, but he was respected. He paid people on time, remembered birthdays, and gave discounts to people who needed help, even when I warned him it would hurt the business. I handled the home, appointments, and the quiet parts of his life that made the loud parts possible. I thought we were building the same future. Marissa Vale had been my closest friend since I was 26. She came into my life after my mother died, bringing wine, flowers, stories, and the kind of laughter that filled silence. When Daniel and I started the business, she became our bookkeeper. Later, she called herself operations manager. Daniel trusted her because I trusted her. That sentence still tastes like poison. 3 weeks before the funeral, Daniel changed. He became quiet. He stopped sleeping. I would wake at 2 in the morning and find him in the kitchen, staring at his laptop with the screen brightness turned low. When I asked what was wrong, he kissed my forehead and said, "Just numbers." Then came the arguments. Not loud ones. Daniel and I were not the throwing plates kind of couple. Our fights were colder than that. Mine were full of questions. His were full of silence. One night, I found a hotel receipt in his jacket pocket. A room at the Ashford Grand, paid in cash for 2 nights. There was also a lipstick stain on the collar of his white shirt. Not red, not pink, deep plum. Marissa wore deep plum lipstick every winter. I held the shirt in both hands and felt something inside me split. When Daniel came home, I asked him straight, "Are you sleeping with Marissa?" He looked at me like I had slapped him. Then he looked away. That was worse than an answer. "I can't explain right now," he said. "You can't explain." I repeated, "Claire, please trust me for a little longer. A little longer." It is funny how a marriage can survive sickness, bills, bad years, and grief, but sometimes it cannot survive one unfinished sentence. I told him to sleep in the guest room, He did. The next morning, he was gone before sunrise. 2 days later, he called me from a blocked number. His voice was low and rushed. "Claire, listen to me. If anything happens, don't believe the first story they tell you." I was so angry, I almost hung up. "What story, Daniel?" "The story where you cheat on me with my best friend." He breathed my name like it hurt. "Please, go to the old mailbox by the lake house. Under the loose brick. There's something before." The line went dead. I called back. Nothing. That night, 2 police officers came to my door. Daniel's truck had gone off Route 17 during a storm. It hit a guardrail, rolled down a ditch, and caught fire. They identified him through dental records. They said death was instant. They said there was no sign of foul play. People always say that like it should comfort you. Instant. No sign. As if official words can make a body less dead. In the days after the crash, my life became a room with no doors. The bank called first. Our savings were almost empty. Then the payroll manager called because 12 workers had not been paid. Then a lender I had never heard of mailed documents to the house. My signature was on them. Or at least a version of it was. There were liens against the company, a second mortgage against our home, and credit cards I did not open. Every trail led back to Daniel. That was what Marissa told me at my kitchen table, with perfect makeup and a folder full of copies. "I hate saying this," she said, crying into a napkin. But Daniel was moving money. I tried to stop him. "I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me." That was another sentence I would later remember. By the time Daniel was buried, everyone in town had heard some version of the story. He was a thief. He was a cheater. He was a coward who ran from the mess he made and died before he had to answer for it. At the funeral, I believed maybe 80% of it. That was enough to make me numb. But after Marissa whispered, "You're free now," the numbness cracked. That night, I did not sleep. I sat in Daniel's office, surrounded by dust, invoices, and the smell of sawdust that still clung to his jacket on the back of the chair. I opened every drawer. I checked every file. I turned over framed photos. I searched like a woman looking for a ghost. At 3:12 in the morning, I found a small black key taped to the underside of his desk drawer. It was not a house key, not a truck key. It had a tiny number engraved near the top, 317. I held it in my palm and heard Daniel's voice again. "Go to the old mailbox by the lake house." Under the loose brick. The lake house was not really ours anymore. Daniel's father had owned it outside Macon. A small place with peeling paint and a dock that leaned into brown, green water. After his father died, Daniel kept saying he should sell it, but he never did. We had not slept there in years. I left before dawn. The drive took 2 hours. Fog sat low over the highway. My phone buzzed twice. Both times it was Marissa. First message, "Checking on you, sweetie." Second message, "Please don't be alone today." I turned off the phone. At the lake house. The air smelled like wet pine and old wood. The mailbox leaned near the gravel road, rusted at the corners. Behind it was a short, brick post Daniel's father had built with his own hands. I crouched and pressed each brick until one shifted. Behind it was a waterproof pouch. Inside was a burner phone, a storage locker receipt, and a note written in Daniel's handwriting. "Claire, if you found this, I am either missing or dead. I am sorry I hurt you. I am sorry I could not tell you everything. Marissa is not who you think she is. Do not trust her. Do not trust Victor Hale. Do not call the police until you have copies. Locker 317. Read everything. I love you." I never stopped. I sat on the gravel with the note shaking in my hands. For the first time since the officers came to my door, I cried like a person instead of a widow on display. Then I got up. The storage facility was 20 minutes away. Outside Macon, between a tire shop and a closed furniture warehouse. I gave the clerk the receipt, signed Daniel's name, because my hand still knew how, and walked down a hallway that smelled like metal and cardboard. Locker 3R17 opened with the black key. Inside were 3 plastic bins, 1 laptop, 2 external drives, and a stack of legal pads. I stood there for almost an hour, reading enough to understand the shape of the monster. Daniel had not been stealing from his company. Someone had been stealing through it. For nearly 2 years, money had moved from Donovan custom homes into shell vendors with names like Southline Materials and Mercer Site Prep. The invoices looked real. The signatures looked real. But the addresses led to empty lots, mail drops, and one small office rented under the name of Victor Hale. Victor was Marissa's older brother. He was also a county development officer, with influence, access, and the kind of smile people trusted, because it had been polished by money and charity events. Daniel had discovered the fraud slowly. At first, he thought it was an accounting mistake. Then he found forged approvals. Then he found Marissa's password, saved on a company tablet she had forgotten at our house. After that, he started copying everything. The hotel receipt was not proof of an affair. It was proof of a meeting. There were photos of Daniel walking into the Ashford Grand. Then Victor. Then Marissa. Then a man I did not recognize. Daniel had written notes beside each photo. Met private investigator. Met source from bank. M wore plum lipstick. Put mark on shirt when she hugged me outside elevator. Claire found receipt. Could not explain. Too dangerous. I pressed the paper to my chest and whispered, "Oh, a guilt is not a knife. A knife cuts and finishes. Guilt is a hook. It stays in you and pulls every time you breathe." The laptop had videos. In one, Daniel sat in the lake house kitchen, wearing the blue flannel shirt I had bought him for Christmas. His eyes were tired. His beard had more gray than I remembered. "If you are watching this, Claire," he said, "I failed to keep you out of it." I covered my mouth and listened. He explained everything in the plain, careful way he used to explain construction problems to nervous clients. Marissa had been moving money. Victor had been using county information to steer land deals. They were laundering bribe money through fake vendors and blaming losses on Daniel's bad management. "I think they know I found out," he said. "I think they are trying to make me look desperate. If they can make people believe I stole the money, everything dies with me." He looked down for a moment. Then he looked back into the camera. "And Claire, about Marissa. I know what you think. I know what I made you think by staying quiet. I am sorry. But I swear on my father's grave, I never touched her. I never betrayed you like that." That was when I broke. Not because I believed him right away, because I wanted to. Wanting to believe someone after they hurt you is one of the cruelest feelings in the world. It makes you feel weak. It makes you feel foolish. But sometimes your heart recognizes the truth before your pride does. I watched every video. I copied every file to a new drive. I took photos of every document with my phone. I did exactly what Daniel asked. But I did not go straight to the police. That may sound wrong. Maybe it was. But grief had taught me one thing very quickly. The first person to tell the story often controls the truth. Marissa had already told the town her version. Victor had friends in county offices, friends in the sheriff's department, friends who owed him favors or wanted him to owe them one. If I walked in crying with a dead man's laptop and said my best friend framed my husband, they would pat my hand, take my statement, and somehow the evidence would disappear. Daniel's note said, "Do not call the police until you have copies." So I made more copies. Then I went home. Marissa was waiting on my porch. She stood up as my car pulled into the driveway. She wore cream-colored slacks and a soft gray sweater. the kind of outfit that made her look gentle. In her hands was a casserole dish covered in foil. "You scared me," she said. "I came by and you were gone. I needed air." "Where did you go?" I looked at her face. I had known that face for 18 years. I had watched it laugh at my kitchen table, cry at my mother's memorial, smile in our holiday photos. Now all I could see were seams. "Just drove," I said. She stepped forward. "Claire, you don't have to carry this alone." "I know." I took the casserole from her. "Come inside." Her eyes softened with relief. She thought I was still hers. That was my first advantage. Over the next week, I became exactly what Marissa needed me to be. Broken, confused, dependent. I let her sit beside me while I sorted through bills. I let her recommend a lawyer, a realtor, and a financial advisor, all connected to Victor in one way or another. I let her think she was leading me toward signing everything away. The whole time, I listened. People tell you things when they believe you have no power. They relax. They make small mistakes. Marissa's first mistake came on a Thursday night. She was in my kitchen, drinking white wine from my glass, while I pretended to stare blankly at a foreclosure notice. "You may need to sell fast," she said, "before the bank gets ugly. I don't even know what the house is worth anymore." "I do," she said quickly. Too quickly. I looked up. She smiled. "I mean, Victor mentioned the market. He knows people." Victor mentioned the market. I wrote that down in my mind. Her second mistake came 2 days later. She told me Daniel had seemed paranoid before he died. "Paranoid how?" I asked. "He thought people were watching him. He even accused me of knowing things I couldn't possibly know." I let my voice tremble. "Like what?" Her eyes flicked toward Daniel's office. "Just nonsense." But she had looked at the office. That night, I moved Daniel's jacket, laptop, and every visible file into boxes and drove them to my sister Ruth's house in Alabama. Ruth was not dramatic. Ruth was not social. Ruth did not like Marissa and had never bothered pretending otherwise. When I told Ruth what I had found, she sat at her dining table with her hands folded. Then she said, "Good, we stop crying. We start hunting." Ruth introduced me to a retired federal prosecutor named Elaine Porter, who now worked as a private attorney in Birmingham. Elaine was in her 60s, small, sharp-eyed, and calm in a way that made other people nervous. She reviewed Daniel's files for 2 days. When she called me back, she did not waste words. "Your husband had enough to start a serious investigation," she said. "But not enough to convict everyone. Not yet. What do we need? A live mistake. A confession. Confessions are nice. Records are better. If they try to force a sale, move assets, threaten you, or destroy evidence, we can use that. But you need to stay safe. These people may have already caused one death." I closed my eyes. "You think Daniel was murdered?" Elaine was quiet for a moment. "I think the crash deserves another look." That sentence turned the room cold. Until then, I had been angry. After that, I became careful. Elaine connected us with an investigator named Marcus Reed, a former state police detective who had the tired face of a man who had seen too many lies and the patience to wait for the one that mattered. Marcus pulled the crash report. The official version said Daniel lost control in heavy rain. But the weather station showed the rain had started 20 minutes after the crash. The guardrail damage did not match the angle in the report. Daniel's truck had been towed by a company that did regular county work approved through Victor's office. The vehicle had been crushed for scrap within 48 hours. "Fast," Marcus said. "Too fast?" I asked. He looked at me. "Nothing is too fast when someone important wants it gone." I went home with a recorder in my purse and fear sitting on my shoulder like a crow. For the next 2 weeks, I played my role. Marissa came over almost every day. She brought food I did not eat and advice I did not take. She pushed me to sign a power of attorney so she could help with the company mess. She said it would protect me. She said Daniel had left things too tangled. Every time she said protect, I heard Daniel's voice from the video. I know what I made you think. I am sorry. One afternoon, Marissa arrived with Victor. He filled my doorway like he owned it. Victor Hale was 50, tall, silver-haired, and smooth in the way of men who shake your hand while measuring your weakness. Claire, he said, I'm sorry for your loss. He sat in Daniel's chair without asking. That almost made me lose control. Instead, I made tea. Victor explained that the company was in dangerous legal trouble. He said creditors could come after me personally. He said the smartest move was to sell the remaining assets to a buyer he knew, settle quietly, and move on. What buyer? I asked. A development group. What group? He smiled. You don't need to worry about the details right now. There it was again. The language of thieves. Don't worry, trust me. Let me handle it. I lowered my eyes and said, I just don't want Daniel's name dragged through court. Marissa reached for my hand, then signed the papers. Victor slid a folder across the table. I looked at the first page. Asset transfer agreement. The buyer was listed as Peachtree Renewal Partners. I had seen that name in Daniel's files. It was one of Victor's shell companies. My hand shook, but not for the reason they thought. I need time, I said. Victor's smile thinned. Time is expensive, Claire. So is a lawyer. For the first time, Marissa looked truly surprised. A lawyer. I'm a widow, not a child, I said softly. The room went silent. Victor stood. He buttoned his suit jacket. Of course. Take a day. After they left, I locked the door, walked to the bathroom, and threw up. Then I called Elaine. They made the move, I said. Good, she replied. Now we let them make a bigger one. The bigger one came sooner than any of us expected. 2 nights later, someone broke into my house. I woke at 1:43 in the morning to the sound of glass breaking downstairs. For one frozen second, I lay still, listening to my own heart slam against my ribs. Then I remembered Marcus's instructions. Do not go downstairs. Do not turn on lights. Get out if you can. I grabbed my phone. Slipped through the bedroom window onto the roof of the back porch, and climbed down the old trellis Daniel had built for roses that never grew. My bare foot hit mud. I ran to my neighbor's house and called 911. The intruder was gone before deputies arrived. Daniel's office had been torn apart. Drawers dumped. Books pulled down. Old receipts scattered across the floor. Whoever came had not been looking for jewelry or cash. They were looking for evidence. One deputy wrote a report like he was writing a grocery list. Probably teenagers, he said. I stared at him. Teenagers broke in to search file cabinets. He shrugged. People do strange things. Yes, I thought. They do. The next morning, Marissa rushed over, pale and shaking. I heard what happened. My God, Claire, you have to leave this house. Maybe you're right. You can stay with me. No, I said. I think I'll go to Ruth's. For half a second, panic crossed her face. Then she hugged me too hard. Of course. Family is good. A family is good. That afternoon, Marcus called. The security camera across the street had caught a dark SUV near my house at 1:31 in the morning. The plate was partly blocked. But he got enough. The SUV belonged to a company registered to Victor Hale's campaign treasurer. It was not proof for a courtroom by itself. But it was another thread. We kept pulling. Daniel had been careful, but he had missed one thing hidden in plain sight, Marissa's pride. She needed to be seen as the loyal friend. She needed people to believe she had stood by me when Daniel destroyed everything. So when the annual county housing charity gala came around, she insisted I attend. "I know it will be hard," she said over the phone. "But hiding makes you look guilty. You need to show people you're moving forward." Moving forward meant standing in a ballroom full of contractors, bankers, county officials, and women who had sent me sympathy texts they hoped I would not answer. It also meant Victor would be there. Elaine did not like the idea. Marcus loved it. "Public place," he said. "Lots of witnesses, lots of alcohol, big egos, people talk." So I went. I wore a black dress, not the funeral one. This one fit like armor. I pinned my hair up the way Daniel liked it, not for romance, but for courage. In my purse was a recorder. In my necklace was a tiny camera Marcus had given me. In my heart was the kind of calm that only comes after fear has done everything it can do. The gala was held at the Magnolia House Hotel in downtown Atlanta. Chandeliers, white tablecloths, champagne, a string quartet playing music nobody was really listening to. When I walked in, conversations dipped and rose around me. "There she is. Poor thing. Brave of her to come." Marissa glided across the room and kissed my cheek. "You look beautiful," she said. "So do you." She wore deep plum lipstick. I almost laughed. Victor gave a speech that night about affordable housing, community trust, and ethical development. People clapped. I watched his hands, big hands, clean nails, a gold ring. A man who could sign papers that ruined lives and still sleep like a baby. After dinner, I found Marissa on the balcony, overlooking the city. She had a glass of champagne in one hand and victory in her posture. I stepped beside her. "Do you ever miss him?" I asked. She did not look at me. "My husband." "Yes," she sighed. "Of course. I miss who I thought he was." That made her relax. "He fooled all of us." "Did he?" Marissa turned her head. I let my face crumple just enough. I keep wondering if there was something I missed. Something he hid. Maybe if I understood, I could finally sign the papers and let it all go. Her eyes sharpened. "You should sign, Claire." "I know. I'm tired. I don't want to fight ghosts." She smiled sadly. "Then don't." I looked down at the street, 11 floors below. "As he scared before he died." She went still. "What do you mean? Daniel? Was he scared?" "I wouldn't know." I turned to her. "But you saw him that night." The words hung between us. Her face changed, not much, but enough. "What night?" "The night before the crash. I didn't see Daniel." "Yes, you did." For the first time in 18 years, I watched Marissa Vale decide whether to keep lying to me or finally show her teeth. She chose teeth. "You're confused," she said. "Maybe. You've been through trauma." "Maybe." Her voice lowered. "Be careful, Claire. Grief makes people unstable." There was the threat. Soft. Wrapped in concern, I looked at her and smiled. "I found the lake house files." Her glass stopped halfway to her mouth. The city hummed below us. "What files?" she asked. I leaned closer. "The files Daniel hid because he knew what you and Victor were doing." For 3 seconds, Marissa did not breathe. Then she laughed. It was a small, ugly sound. "You always were slower than you looked." My skin went cold, but I kept my face still. "Why?" I asked. "Why?" Her eyes flashed. "Because Daniel was going to ruin everything. Because he got righteous at the worst possible time. Because men like Victor build things, while men like Daniel whine about rules. Daniel built homes. Daniel built debt. You framed him." She stepped closer. "We gave people a story they were happy to believe. Faithful wife. Secret debts. Dead husband. It was almost too easy. My heart beat once, hard. You caused the crash." Marissa's smile faded. "I didn't touch his truck." "But Victor did." She looked away. That was enough for me. Before I could say another word, the balcony door opened. Victor stepped out. There you are, he said. Marissa's face changed instantly. Too fast. Victor looked from her to me. He knew. Claire. He said, come inside, Nanu. His smile disappeared. You are making a mistake. I already made one, I said. I trusted you people. Victor moved closer. He did not touch me. He was too smart for that in public. But he filled the space around me with his body and his expensive cologne. Whatever you think you have, he said. It won't bring Daniel back. Sign the assets over, take the insurance money, and leave Georgia. You can still have a quiet life. What insurance money? I asked. He blinked. Marissa whispered, Victor. I had not mentioned insurance. No one had. Daniel's life insurance was still under investigation because of the debts and the crash. Victor had just told me he knew about it. I tilted my head. How do you know what the insurance company is doing? His face hardened. And then, behind him, Marcus Reed opened the balcony door. Elaine stood beside him. 2 federal agents stood behind them. Victor looked at me. For the first time, he looked afraid. I touched the necklace at my throat. Smile, I said. You're on camera. The arrest did not happen like in movies. No one tackled Victor. No one shouted dramatic lines. The agents simply moved in with calm voices and practiced hands. Victor demanded to call his attorney. Marissa screamed that I had trapped her. She was right. I had. But all I did was give her a place to tell the truth. She chose the words herself. The investigation that followed took months. Interviews. Paperwork. Nights when I woke at 4 a.m. because I heard glass breaking in my dreams. The truth came out slowly, then all at once. Victor had used his county position to feed land and permit information to developers, who paid him through fake vendors. Marissa used Donovan Custom Homes to move money and hide invoices. When Daniel found out, they forged signatures, moved funds, and created evidence of an affair because they knew betrayal would blind me. And the crash. A mechanic who worked for Victor's towing contact finally talked. Daniel's brake line had been cut in a way that looked like damage from the wreck. The rain had helped them sell the story. The fast scrapping of the truck had almost buried it forever. Almost. The mechanic took a plea. The towing owner took a plea. Victor fought until his own emails buried him. Marissa held out longest. She always had hated losing. In court, she wore navy blue and no lipstick. I noticed that. When she saw me across the aisle, she looked away. I wanted to feel triumph. I had imagined that moment so many times. I thought I would feel fire. I thought revenge would taste sweet. But sitting there, listening to prosecutors describe my husband's last hours, I felt only the heavy truth of what revenge really is. It does not bring back the person you lost. It does not erase the nights you spent doubting them. It does not return the stolen years. Revenge, the real kind, is not about becoming cruel. It is about refusing to let cruelty write the ending. Victor was convicted of conspiracy, fraud, bribery, evidence tampering, and charges connected to Daniel's death. Marissa took a deal after the mechanic testified. She stood in court and admitted she had helped frame my husband, helped forge my name, and helped destroy our life so she and Victor could keep their money machine running. The judge asked if she wanted to say anything to me. Marissa turned around. For a moment, I saw the woman who had brought flowers after my mother died. The woman who danced barefoot in my kitchen one New Year's Eve. The woman I had called sister. Then she said, "I'm sorry you got hurt." "Anat, I'm sorry I hurt you." You got hurt. Even at the end, she could not carry the weight of her own hands. I stood when the judge allowed me to speak. My voice shook at first, then it steadied. "You did not just steal money," I said. You stole the truth from a dead man. You tried to make me hate my husband so I would help you bury him twice. Once in the ground and once in my heart. Marissa stared at the table. But you failed, I said. Because Daniel loved me enough to leave the truth behind, and I loved him enough to go find it. The courtroom was silent. I sat down. That was the only revenge speech I ever needed. After the trial, people in town changed their voices again. Poor Claire became strong Claire. Daniel the thief became Daniel the whistleblower. The same people who had whispered at the funeral now stopped me to say they had always known something was wrong. I learned to smile and keep walking. Not everyone deserves access to your anger. Elaine helped clear Daniel's name. The forged debts were challenged. The insurance finally paid. Donovan Custom Homes did not survive, not as a company, but the workers Daniel had protected were paid from recovered funds. His name came off the lawsuits. Mine came off the loans. I sold the White House with blue shutters. Not because I was forced to, because I chose to. Before I left, I finally planted the garden Daniel had promised me. Ruth said, it was foolish to plant flowers at a house I was selling. Maybe it was. But grief makes its own kind of sense. On the last evening, I sat under the empty sky with Daniel's old flannel around my shoulders. The house was quiet. No papers. No lies hiding in drawers. I played Daniel's last video one more time. If you are watching this, Claire, he said, I failed to keep you out of it. No, I whispered. You brought me through it. I paused the video on his face. For months, I had wanted to ask him why he did not tell me sooner. Why he let me doubt him. Why he carried danger alone until it killed him. But sitting there, I understood something I had not understood before. Love does not always make people brave in the right way. Sometimes love makes them secretive. Sometimes it makes them foolish. Sometimes it makes them think silence is protection, when really it is a wall. Daniel had built too many walls. I had spent months tearing them down. I forgave him there, not all at once, but enough to breathe. A year later, I moved to a smaller town in North Carolina, near the mountains. I bought a little brick house with a porch just wide enough for 2 chairs. I opened a bookkeeping office for small contractors, because I knew exactly how honest people could be ruined by dirty numbers. On the wall behind my desk, I hung a framed photo of Daniel on a job site, smiling under a hard hat, sawdust on his jeans. Some clients asked if he was my husband. I always said, yes. He was a good man, and I meant every word. One October morning, I received a letter from Marissa in prison. I knew her handwriting before I opened it. For a long time, I just held the envelope. Then I made coffee, sat on the porch and read it. She said prison had changed her. She said she thought about me every day. She said Victor had used her. She said Daniel should have minded his own business. She said she hoped one day I could forgive her. At the bottom, she wrote, I miss my best friend. I folded the letter carefully. Then I walked to the kitchen, lit the gas stove, and burned it in the sink. Some forgiveness is private. Some forgiveness is not an invitation. I did forgive her, eventually, but not because she asked. I forgave her because I was tired of carrying her shadow into every room. I forgave her the way you put down a heavy suitcase after a long trip. You do not thank the suitcase. You just stop holding it. People sometimes ask me if I got revenge. I tell them yes. My revenge was not blood. It was not a screaming match. It was not burning down houses or throwing wine in someone's face. My revenge was evidence. My revenge was patience. My revenge was Daniel's name cleared. My revenge was learning that I could be betrayed, blamed, and still rise with the truth in my hands. And sometimes, late at night, when the wind moves through the trees outside my porch, I think about that funeral. I think about Marissa squeezing my hand. "You're free now, Claire." She was right, just not in the way she meant. I was not free because Daniel was dead. I was free because the lie died with her confession. I was free because I stopped begging the past to explain itself and built a life it could not touch. And if there is one thing I know now, it is this. A person can steal your money, your trust, your home, and even the story people tell about you. But if you are brave enough to keep digging, they cannot keep the truth buried forever.